Like ghosts? Feeling horny? I've got the book just for you. Here are 19 reasons to read Bag of Bones. Hi everyone, Happy New Year and welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Musson, at Dave Musson on Instagram, and this is the place where I'm giving you 19 reasons to read each and every single one of Stephen King's books and going through them in chronological order. If that sounds like something you'd like more of, then do go ahead and check out the rest of my channel. There's loads more videos for you to check out. And if you like what you see here, maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss any videos in the future. One moment. Cheers. Now in this video we've reached 1998 and something of a guilty pleasure of mine when it comes to Stephen King's works, Bag of Bones, a haunted romance, horny story that has got all kinds of stuff going on inside. I'm going to give you 19 reasons to read it, and as has been the way for a few months now, I'm going to cluster any spoilery reasons towards the end and we'll let you know before they arrive. So if you've not read the book yet and you don't want spoilers, you can still get some reasons from me, but then you can drop out before I spoil anything for you. I know some of you don't like the spoilers on my older videos, can't do much about those now, but I can change the ones for the future, and that's what we're going to do. Anyway, enough waffle. Time for 19 reasons to read Bag of Bones. So this book was a significant one for King because it was the first one he published under Scribner. He had left Viking, the publisher he'd been with since The Dead Zone from 1979, basically because it came down to money. Viking was part of Penguin, which became part of Penguin and Putnam, who also had Tom Clancy, who was doing big numbers at the time, even bigger than King. King didn't really like being edged out by the amount of money they were spending on Clancy, so his agent shopped him around and he landed at Scribner. So interestingly on this one, King did say that that move of publishers did re-establish his own reputation, but he has also since acknowledged that he did come across as greedy and has even said in one interview that he should have just said to Scribner they should pay him $1 per book. They paid him a lot more than $1, let me put it that way. So, onto the book. Although it is full of ghosts, spooky beings, and a few bits of weird random stuff here, at the heart of it is romance. This with King using his new start to try and be a bit more literary and to try and appeal to a few more women readers who, it appeared, had sort of ditched King over the years. The result is Bag of Bones, a gothic, romance, haunted story that is actually pretty well done. It's also horny as fuck. So what's the hook of this one? Well, we follow a writer, obviously, a guy called Mike Noonan, who is suffering from the most terrible writer's block following the tragic death of his wife. His writer's block is so bad that he vomits when he opens up Microsoft Word, although I think plenty of us have done that when you try and format something in that fucking program. Am I right? Now, Mike manages to keep his publishers happy by sending him trunk novels, which are unpublished novels that he's kept stored away in a drawer for exactly this kind of situation. However, after 4 years, the trunk novels run out, and Mike is still in desperate need of inspiration. So, he decamps to his lakeside house up in the incorporated township of the TR90. Now, his house is called Sarah Laughs, and it's while he's here that he encounters a whole host of shit going on. Ghosts, sexy women, evil curses, a dodgy lake, an evil man in a wheelchair, weird genealogy stuff, random drive-by shootings, loads, okay? Loads and loads of stuff. Now, if you were needing reminding of the fact that this is supposed to be a gothic romance, you are repeatedly slapped in the face with references and shout-outs to Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. The publishers even went so far as to claim that this book is King expanding on du Maurier's own festering collection of secrets. Now, as I've already mentioned, a lot happens in this book, and I wouldn't be a fair reviewer of these kind of things if I didn't acknowledge that it does occasionally lose its way in the middle and can be a bit thick and a bit heavy going. However, from my point of view, I think the start is really strong, I think it ends really well, and it does tie pretty much everything together as well. So overall, I think it works. It's just so goddamn horny that it feels like a really weird, dirty read. But it is, when you're in the moment of reading it at least, pretty good. So I keep mentioning how horny this book is, don't I? The highlight of its horniness has to be Mike's quite unbelievable dream involving 3 women at the same time. Most of them aren't actually alive, and a whole lot of sexiness. Just watch out for that one. So the bad guy in this is a great king bad guy. He is the wheelchair-bound software mogul Max DeVore, and he is nasty, and in that brilliant king antagonist kind of way. He's manipulative, controlling, petty, ugly, and full of dark secrets. So Mike's house, as I mentioned earlier, is called Sarah Laughs, which is a weird name for a house, right? It's named after Sarah Tidwell, a blues singer who had played a lot in that area in the early part of the century and had a slightly mysterious end. And it turns out over the course of the book that Mike's wife, Jo, had been investigating what Sarah was up to. And Mike's house is actually haunted by Sarah's ghost and becomes much more important in Bag of Bones as we go through it. Now, I don't often mention audiobooks in these videos, but the audiobook for Bag of Bones is noteworthy for a few reasons. First, it's read by King himself, so if you want all of those delicious sex scenes read by the man who wrote them, there you go. It also features a Q&A with King at the end of it, and most interestingly and most impressively, they actually specially commissioned some original blues music to be recorded and inserted into the audiobook to help flesh out the Sarah Tidwell character, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, we're entering spoiler territory now, so if you need to head out here because you don't want spoilers, please do. Feel free to leave. Maybe subscribe so you don't miss any future ones, but yeah, see you again soon. Damn fine cup of tea. Tastes really good in this really cool mug for this really cool podcast. So this book has plenty of ridiculous scenes, to be frank. I've already mentioned the 3-way sex dream, which is pretty crazy. But for me, the one that really takes the biscuit is the scene where Max DeVore, in a wheelchair remember, manages to run Mike into the lake, and then Max's assistant starts pelting rocks at him because she used to play baseball or some shit, and to the point where he nearly dies, he nearly drowns. It's just a really fucking weird scene, and yet while you're reading it, it's really gripping. And then you turn the page and you're like, what the fuck was that? Is that a reason to read the book? I don't know. Yes, it is. You've got to see it to believe it. So something that's quite problematic in this book is the way that Mike looks at, judges, and then lusts over Mattie DeVore, who is the young, hot, single mum who is Mike's love interest as this story progresses. It's just a really good example of King writing women in a really bad way, in a way that really only allows them to be a piece of meat. Not great. Interestingly for King though, he actually resists the urge to let Mike bang Mattie. So they are very much on the road to the bone zone, but then Mattie gets taken out in a drive-by shooting in yet another of the book's somewhat ridiculous scenes. No sex for you, Mikey. At least not when you're awake. So the big reveal in this, which is tied to the Sarah Tidwell story, is actually pretty good and really does keep in with that gothic feel. So we learn that Sarah was brutally raped and murdered by a gang of local men, including Max DeVore. They also drowned her son, Keto. Now, before she died, she placed a curse on all of these men involved in her murder, and that curse was that they would all have kids and their firstborn children would be named with a name beginning with a K. And those fathers would ultimately drown those children. Now, alongside this, Mike's wife discovers that Mike's own relative was part of that group, which means that had Mike and Jo had any kids, which they didn't, they would have given it a K first name, and ultimately they would have been dunking it in the lake. What happens at this point is that Mike realises that Sarah needs to rest. He needs to find her skeleton, her bag of bones. He needs to destroy them. He needs to end the curse and bring it all to an end once and for all. And that's what leads us to the book's finale. Now that finale leads to a quite thrilling climax which involves a terrific storm, a kidnapping, and a watery ghost coming and helping to save the day. Yeah, sounds weird, but it works. So there are a couple of interesting King connections to note in this one, as is often the way. The TR90 is a location that comes up time and time again in King's works, and Sarah Laughs itself is referenced in one of the later Dark Tower books as being one of those thinner places when it comes to our world and other worlds than these. So we also get a couple of quite nice references to other King writer characters, although you do have to pay close attention, otherwise you might miss them. There's a bit of a note about Bill Denborough, and we also learn the fate of Thaddeus, the guy from the Dark Half. We learn he commits suicide. Very sad, stupid name still. So lastly, Bag of Bones was a success. It sold 1.5 million copies and it spent 20 weeks on the bestseller list. Pretty darn impressive, right? But still not as good as Tom Clancy did that year. So there we go, 19 reasons to read Bag of Bones. Let me know what you think of this one and let me know in the comments just how horny you think this is. Don't forget, I'm going through King's work in chronological order, which means by this point there's lots of videos for you to check out. Lots of 19 reasons to read lots of different Stephen King books. And there's a few specials in there as well. So do click around my channel, have a look and subscribe if you like what you see. And if you want to come and say hi on Instagram, I'm at Dave Musson and I would love to chat to you. Thanks so much for watching this one and do come back soon because next time we're off for a walk in the woods and there's a good chance we're going to get lost.